Hi there, Grant from Penguin Motors here. Today I'm going to show you the effect it had on our 1900 Crossflow at full throttle when we swapped from a mechanical distributor to an electronic one. So, are you ready, boys? Should we make some noise? So first off, what is ignition advance and why do we need it? Well, simply put, as the piston's going up and down the bore, when we make the spark, sets fire to the mixture, pushes the piston back down again. Obviously, if we start the spark too soon, we've got fire in the combustion chamber, which is starting to push the piston down before it's even got to top dead centre. We can't set fire to the mixture at top dead centre because it takes time for the mixture to burn. So we have to set fire to the mixture whilst the piston is still on its way up. And that's the critical thing. How much before it's way up? Too late, we lose power. Too early, we will lose power and possibly kill the engine. But it's not a fixed rate. How early we need to make that spark depends on how well filled the cylinder is, which could be dictated by throttle position, RPM, camshaft, head design, lots of things. So what sort of advance curve does a distributor make? Well, because it's mechanical, it's fairly rudimentary. It will do something like that, or it may do that, or possibly. But there's very definite limits to what you can do with it. With a mechanical distributor, you can't have a valve, take it out, bring it back in, and maybe take it out again. And that is the argument that makes electronic systems so much better. However, if you're talking from a full throttle, wide open performance perspective, you rarely need a curve like that. And a mechanical advance curve from distributor can get quite close. So how do we work out what we need from the distributor? Well, simply, we install the distributor, we set the time in, somewhat retarded, and we do a power run. And let's say we get that. And if we add more time in, maybe it goes up a bit, and we keep adding more. And hopefully, we get more and more. But we will reach a point where we've got a curve like this, and more time in maybe drops the power everywhere, like that. So that's no good. In which case, you simply retard it a bit. Or this happens. We put more time in it, and we get that. Yay! More power. Boo. Not any less power, we're likely to run into detonation, preignition, whatever you want to call it. Horrible rattling, pinking sound. That can be an engine killer. So in this instance, we can clearly show that is not right. Now, if it was a simple curve like that, we could perhaps tweak the internals of the distributor. But rarely is the curve quite as simple as that. But that is where the electronics can win, because we can have, instead of that, we can have this. Win-win. So let's show you a couple of dyno runs and see if we got the green line. So, how did we do on a Lucas distributor? Well, pretty decently actually. We made 160 brake horsepower and 151 pound-foot of torque. And to be fair, that wasn't any old distributor. That was one that was intended for the engine specification, albeit as a 1700, not 1900. But the distributor was intended at specification, so it was suitable for 244 cam and side drive carburetors, etc. But what I had noticed is during the testing, a bit like I'd showed in the graphs, that if I start to inch a little bit more advanced into a distributor, I picked up some more top end, but lost a bit in the mid-range. So clearly the advance curve isn't quite as good as it could be for that engine. So next up, we switched to 123 distributor, which is programmable. Or I've got to say that I don't know if the later 123 distributors are the same, but this one, you've only got about 7 or so mappable points. It's not fully mappable like a full engine management system, but obviously that it is mappable to a degree, so you can take advance out and you can add advance in at separate spots. So it's not a purely fixed mechanical curve like the distributor, but let's run it up on a 123 and see what numbers we get. So there we go. Not much difference there. I've only actually showed you the top of the graph, but basically through most of the rev range there was nothing in it. In fact, you see from the graph, there's one small point that we lost a fraction of torque. But it did make another 2 horsepower and it did hang on better. And I think some of that's down to the fact, like I say, there's only about 6 or 7 ignition points, and a couple of them you need to use low down at the idle end of the circuit. So you've only really, with this distributor, got about 5 spots that you can play with advance at. So, you know, it's although we call it an advanced curve, the curve still actually is quite mechanical looking. You know, it's kind of flat lines between points, a bit like adjusting a distributor with bob weights and springs. The only difference with the 123 distributor is you can come out as well as in. But in an engine like this, we don't really need out. So yes, it made a difference. Not big, but then the distributor that was already in the engine was well suited. If we'd have just plucked the old distributor out of a scrapyard engine, I'm sure the 123 would have shown a much bigger difference.